this computer. Okay, great. Episode 8 on the Become Fearless podcast. I've got another artist on today. If you didn't see the last podcast, check it out with Kevin Williams. He's an Instagram artist. Today I've got a good friend and an artist. I've got Barclay on. Lee is a brilliant artist. You can check out his work on Instagram. It's unbelievable. When I saw it, I was blown away. He's a pencil and paint artist. So we'll just get straight in it today. We won't waste any time. So Lee, do you want to tell everyone what your story is with the artwork and anything else you want to share?
So, hey there first. So I've been drawing and painting for virtually since I was 5. So all the years I've been doing it, I've just spent most of the time doing it out of enjoyment. I did it as back in primary school, I used to get a lot of rewards for it, and people used to be always encouraging about my art direction, never give up on your art and that. And as time went on, I kind of done art GCSE, and then I went on to do a degree related to my pencil skills, which was design, 3D design they called it. And then since then, when I finished 6 years ago, I've actually been doing full-time on the side, apart from my everyday life work, creating art and commissions. So my long-term plan is to become a successful artist if I can achieve that. And it's just more for a combination of a lifestyle and having something to strive for outside everyday life, something that makes me tick, something I can look forward to outside my job, my relationships, etc., fitness. I think it's just one of those things as an artist, it's part of who I am, that's the description of it.
No, that's great. It really comes across when you see your work, and it's we'll get into that a bit later on. I've got quite a few questions. So I was interested in giving people some encouragement on this podcast show, especially with what we're going through now, right? Some people are struggling a lot worse than others or handling it. So in regards to mental health, depression, anxiety, social anxiety, shyness, loneliness, all that kind of stuff, do you think art can help people to deal with those things better, even if they're not experts or great at art, they just want to get a bit of a pen.
If I dropped all the my desires and goals in terms of my art and just drawed or painted for the sake of a hobby or just something to do while we're in this lockdown and all this COVID stuff, it does help kind of give yourself to look forward to something, and you could put your emotions and your feelings onto a piece of paper or a canvas, and you could draw or even give back to the community in your own circle, like your family. So maybe draw a picture for your mum or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, etc. And boyfriend, girlfriend, wrong way around.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's my art? I thought you'd draw me a little placard or a little landscape.
You wanted a box for a couple of years, don't you? And but it's basically, it helps you take your mind to a place where you can just meditate. It's a meditating through using tools to create something that you can be proud of. And you could do it in many different ways. It can mean anything. It's one of those things where it doesn't really have one meaning. It's just universal. And in a time like now where so much is limited, it is one of those things where you can still go anywhere. It's like the mind over matter, no matter how restrictive your outside world is, as we all know right now, you can use your imagination for wonders, and it really does help to get out of your head. At the same time, go into your head, if that makes sense. So it's a lot. I think it does help. It's helped me massively. I think I did slow down a bit because it was kind of becoming a bit overwhelming with this old lockdown about 3 months ago. But now with the, figuring out what I want to do later and after all this is over, it's actually helped me. It's helped me go along, because there's a lot of times I just drawed because I fancied it, or I wanted to watch videos of other people drawing. So it's just one of those things where it's got many meanings, but it really does help in any times, hard and good. That's my opinion of it.
You know what? That's great. I've got to get you and Kevin on together, because you're both artists, and in some kind of way, you've got a very similar perspective on art, but it's very different, which I would expect you being individuals, but a lot of similarities. So really enjoying this conversation, by the way, Lee, because so many different questions I can ask, and I'm really enjoying it. So my next question is, did you get inspired with the art growing up? Did you see someone else do it? Did you watch a film or a comic, or was it just something natural that you just took to? How did it start? Do you remember your first memories?
I think I started as far back as nursery, because I've got a very good memory. Really, I can remember a lot, even when I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I remember drawing airplanes and that. And I used to like, obviously, we all started off doing stick people in the beginning. The stick people are just like the standard for like beginner. So you just do stick people on like a piece of paper and stuff. We used to use blackboards in school, which before the whiteboards turned up, that was when I used to do a lot of like chalk drawings, and that was kind of where it started. But obviously in them days, it was just like you're a kid. So I just drawed anything from movies. I got inspired just to draw, and people just noticed that I was doing a lot better than a lot of people around me at the time. And in the end, you always get those end of year awards at school, and it just carried on encouraging me. Like, wait a minute, I've got something here that is, I wouldn't say better. I've just got some talent that people are always recognizing, and it's like my strong point, and it's been there since for all those years. You know, obviously, I let it kind of drive me in a lot of ways through my education. And before I kind of took it more seriously, it was just something I enjoyed now and then, but I used it to express the way I feel about interests. So, say Lord of the Rings, when that came out, I've done plenty of drawings of Lord of the Rings when that was new. Then it went on to Star Wars at the same time. And then around that time as well, if I remember, I was just like, I think I just enjoyed it. And then times it was just do it for fun. And still is, obviously, but it's got, I kind of see that you can go a long way with art, because artists can make it from a similar background. But I guess at the time, I think the inspiration was more from people around me, just people saying they really like my art. And I thought, okay, that's great. Let's just keep going. And then it just, like, I used it as my strength in terms of what I can do. So I think inspiration's just come and gone in many different ways, really. There's no fixed inspiration. Like, at the moment, more recently, I'm thinking about other artists that actually lived in the past, like Picasso, Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
That's how you say his name, by the way. And Da Vinci, sorry. And in years ago, I used to look at those guys, and I never really found them that interesting, because I was in a different place. I just wanted to do pencil drawing, so I just saw it as the same thing, doing a piece of paper like you do graffiti. And that was it. Inspiration just come and go depending on where I am in my life, really. But there's no fixed inspiration. It's more people around me or what I want to look for, you know. So it's just kind of an open plane. I never know, because a couple of years ago I was into movies, and that's where my inspiration come to make art at the time. And now I'm kind of moving into painting, which I've kind of done paintings before, but it was more here and there. And I want to really blow it out to the point where I'm very good at a lot of different things without becoming a master of all trades, but master of none, if that makes sense. And just to keep evolving it, really, make it evolve, make it a long-term strategy for my life, to meditate, to create, and to just be inspired in general. It helps me be inspired by the simple things in life. Let's put it that way. I can sit down at a park earlier, and I'm just looking around at the colours in the sky, thinking, okay, so I'm doing a painting right now. The sky's right, I'm looking at it, thinking, how can I mix the painting up when I get indoors? So I'm looking at different colours. So inspiration is everywhere, basically.
Yeah, that's excellent. Especially loads of the things you said were good for people about the art being meditation that you can get, and you can apply it in all areas of your life. You know, when I look at your artwork, Lee, from the time I met you, and I've looked at it on Instagram and seen, obviously I've spent time with you in person.
Yeah.
What I really love about your art and what you're doing is I can see how much it's evolved. Like, you can see if you go back on, and I know that can sound like you're stating the obvious, because people think, well, you should get better, but it's really evolved from some of the earlier stuff you've done. And also what I love most and respect about you is the hours that you put in to your art. It's not just like in an hour. I've seen you do paintings and you said 12 hours this took, or 8 hours. And I think that's spectacular, because a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people haven't got the discipline and the dedication to do anything more than 2 hours. So to be able to do anything, I think, if 8 hours, 10 hours, I know people do that in some of their jobs, but this is a bit different.
Well, it's usually like over time as well. I think the longest I've done, which I probably, after with like finished talking even today, I'm going to be doing another 4 or 5 hours, because I've got the time to do it at the moment. We can't really do anything outdoors, so I'm just doing extra time, you know. And it's just basically like you can spend as much as 40 minutes on it to 4 hours. So, but yeah, it just depends on the stretches. I think it adds up to 12 hours something. And I think, as like I said earlier in the year, the goal was to like do like, you know, like you got realism drawing and like realism painting, where everything just looks like photograph. I'm kind of like, I want to move away from that a lot more now. I'm kind of continue it as a realism part of my art. So if you're looking at a picture of like Muhammad Ali and it's a painting, it will be that art, but it won't just be something that already exists in real life. It'll be like what could come out of my creativity to make that stand out. You know, otherwise it's nothing more than just a reference-based artwork. And I think that's where I've come from early this year to now. I mean, I'm not saying the work was poor and for that reason, but it was just a different approach to the same goal. I think, you know, there's a lot of ways to put it, really. But yeah, it does take time. You can take 12 hours. Some people do up to 120 hours on it. And I've started to think, is that really worth the time, depending on what I really get out of art, you know? But art is art. Art can take 10 minutes. You know, that's the thing about the art world. It just depends on the artist and what he could bring to the table, really.
That's what I love about art and speaking to artists, is that there's no definitive place with it, or time, or interpretation, or, as you said, whether you do it for 45 minutes or for 24 hours. It's about your input and what you value with it. Am I right in saying, when I look at your art, obviously I get many things from it, and you can tell me if it's right or wrong, and my interpretation is there's a lot of history there. It's very historic. I see paintings of Charlie Chaplin. I see you drawing other paintings. There's a lot of other, like, history land. I just get that historic feel, even without looking at obvious people in history.
I've always been like a bit of a historian, really, and
yeah.
expression. But I think I'm kind of coming away from that in terms of expressing on art now, and just like doing what everyone else does, like studying it and using it. And I'm thinking a lot about how to make new art, and my recent ideas are coming out for new art that's going to come soon in painting form is landscape art through painting. I was thinking about even like using memories as a theme. So I've got a few memories from as far back when I was 5 or 6, and I kind of always found fascinating, even though they're just every day at the time. But when you look back on them now, they're kind of like archives. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, was life really that different back then? And then if I could paint that imagery into a piece of like a canvas, and that's the only place it comes from is my memory, it could be quite a fascinating thing, and even tweak it so it's a bit more like surreal. Like, I've got one little memory of drawing on a pencil, using a pencil on a blackboard when I first learnt my name. That's how old it is. And it had like the date on it, 1999. And I remember writing that, and straight after that happened, I got told off by the teacher. So for some reason that memory stuck with me, maybe because it was quite traumatic as a kid. So I thought, okay, well, I just want to paint that because it was quite a traditional, like, Matilda looking sort of moment. You ever seen the film Matilda?
Yeah.
That is basically, it's just like simple art like that. It can be absolutely anything, and then you can make that look like something creative on a piece of paper. So everything I do has a bit of meaning in it, even if it's simply just a person from history, like Charlie Chaplin, or a film actor like Rob De Niro. And, you know, I just feel like I draw them because it means something to me, you know. And I do a lot of commissions as well. So I've got a few of them that have, like, from my family as well. Like my granddad, he passed away 5 years ago. So I've done him like a traditional sort of picture where he was like very professional looking, like he had a shirt on, a suit, and he was sitting like a pub desk and that. So you look at it now, which is like sitting right there for now. It's like, it just stands out like a piece of art on its own, you know. Something like, it almost looks like it go in a gallery, which is the plan. But like, you know, art changes all the time, you know, and like, there's no fixed thing. But that's what I kind of want to move into at some point. Something a bit more like it's got a niche, you know. And well, things are always changing with the art. That's basically what I'm saying.
Right. So you're saying, obviously, with the art, it's always changing, but at the same time, you're trying to find your niche, because it seems like you've gone through different trends of art. You've done the pencil, drawing, pen, paint, landscapes.
Well, earlier in the year, I got recognised at my company, Ford, for drawing. I can't remember what it was. Actually, it's been a long year. Like, it was like drawings and all that come together, and I wrote an article about it. I wrote the article and posted it, and I wrote like what I thought of it and like my description. Same thing I'm doing here, and it's just basically an overall what I do and what I want to get out of it in the long run, which I can bring up as we talk in this chat. And it just basically says a summary of what an artist would say, really. Like, what I do is I create, I make, and what the tools I use and what makes me tick, where I get my inspiration, you know. History is one big part of it as well. I've always found history fascinating. And even now with the pandemic, you just think, okay, well, we've never seen this before. So how do we kind of feel better about this situation? Because there's a lot of conspiracies out there at the moment, which I would say is affecting me quite a bit in some ways. Not that I believe them, but you study history like the 1918 pandemic, and it makes you realise, well, we've been here before. So history is repeating itself. And that's why I like history as well, because it's like, it repeats itself. Like no one really notices it repeats itself either. You know, you only really see it like the newspapers, like the 1980 pandemic. And then most people around you, they're like, it's never happened before, or they're a bit freaked out by it. But it's just because we have had it pretty, I would say, pretty decent in that time. It's just all like, no one really knows what to believe of it. It's a great time to reflect on other stuff as well, like where you want to go in your life and what's important, simple times. And art is an important part of that as well. And now I feel like I've come out of the pandemic, even though we're kind of in it still, a lot better, a lot more ready to create even better stuff, you know, and how where I want to take it, and got new plans, new ideas that I feel are even better than ever before, really. So that's art for me, really. It can mean a lot of things. It's just like it's like my medium, you know. It's like someone's job, you know. I work around my job and etc.
No, it's great, man. It's great. It's great listening to you. There's a lot of great life experience, and passion is evident. People will really feel that. And I've always loved art growing up, Lee. Absolutely love it. I'm nothing close to as good as you are at what you do. But I like art in different ways, and a lot of the things you said really resonate with me, and I'm sure they will a lot of the listeners as well. But yeah, with the lockdown, you know, it's been a rough ride for everyone. It's been up and down, right? But at the same time, as you said, it's been a positive in that it's given artists a lot of time where you can put 6 hours, 12 hours. You might not have had that time if we weren't in lockdown. It's not that we wish for lockdown, but now it's here. You know, you can make something good of it. Interesting what you said about history repeating itself. I knew that, but of course we do forget sometimes. So I could ask you so many other questions. I always take a bit of time. I don't like asking
That's good.
questions for the sake of it, because it feels very boring and rigid. But you know, I watch this podcast show, Lee. It's a small one, but I really like it. And they're graffiti artists, but it's not just because they're graffiti artists. It's because they're very interesting people like yourself. And it's really interesting listening to them speak, because you realise, yes, they're artists, but they're people as well. Like an artist or a doctor or a teacher. At the end of the day, everyone's human outside of what they do, whether they're an artist or not. But it's interesting because when I listened to you and I interviewed Kevin, and I listened to a lot of other artists, although they've got their own goals and they've got their own idea of it, it all feels like they're all trying to express themselves. I think they're trying to hope that people will understand them better, and they will appreciate what they're putting out. And I suppose you could apply that for everything. We all feel like that. We all feel that we feel misunderstood at times. We want people to recognize us and understand us, see us for who we are, good qualities. And we have fears that people won't. Anything else you want to talk about with your art? We can get to the business side of it. You said that you do is it commissions, right? So you do art, and people obviously pay you.
I think up until now, yeah, it's been like people have asked me commissions, and I haven't really like advertised it like business quite yet, because I still feel I think I'm at a point where I was developing my skill to the point it was so good that it could be competing with other artists. But I think I didn't actually want that. I think what's really happened is I've kind of like naturally fallen into the trap of wanting to be the best, which is probably not always possible. So I've kind of got a new mindset now of having a workable skill that I can market really well and offer my own value to people that, you know, want the value in their own ways. Like they want a pet dog drawing, or they want a family drawing of a deceased relative. That's one way I want to do it. And in terms of the painting, though, that's kind of like I want to do originals. And as much as I appreciate pencil drawings, I think pencil drawings are not quite as, I might be wrong when I say this if other people hear it, but profits, they might not be as money making as a painting, because paintings are a lot more recognized. If you go to a boxing arena, you see usually people painting like boxing match fights. Now I saw a couple of years ago when I went to one, and I want to get good at both ways. So I think each medium's got a different place, but I want to put it into some sort of like entrepreneurship now. And I do believe it, because I've been following a few other artists that have made it mostly through social media. But I do believe it can be done traditionally as well, like galleries, and you can approach these galleries and do like, you've got to communicate. Communication's important. And I think where we've got social media as well, sometimes you can be an observer. You can post your stuff like I do on Instagram, but you kind of like, you don't really get involved either. Like you like someone's stats or you like their comment, but it's not really enough. You need to kind of go on another level. So I'm in the process of really like starting a painting, but also like planning how to make it into something that's going to work bigger as like a side hustle. And then eventually over many years becomes something big, because this is not really a short-term plan. It never was really. I've just come out of like 6 years of doing pencil joints, and I'm ready to start really putting a new level of stuff in there. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
like I said, yeah. When I spoke to you several years ago, and you were telling me about this idea, I really think you can be successful with this. I really believe in you. I really believe in your work, and you're doing the right things. And obviously, you're going to follow your own heart. So I'm not telling you what to do or anything. I'm just recognizing that I think you're really in the process of getting closer, because your work on social media, when you go on your Instagram, you can tell it's professional. You can tell, I get a sense, which is good, which is great there. It's a personal thing you like, but there's a business side. You know, you can do drawings and paintings for people, and rightly so, they can pay you. It's your hard work, your time, and it's bringing a lot of value. And there's a market for it. So definitely, as you're right, and because it's a long-term thing, you can guarantee that it will work out. You're not in it just for like a quick.
I think I've known for a few years really. Like 3-4 years ago, I got my easel, like my painting easel, and I didn't use it for 3 years. So I put it in the cupboard, and then I kind of know where I want to go from like a lot earlier on, but it's like I'm not ready quite yet until I suddenly hit that time. And now this year, where the lockdowns happened, it's maybe like I want to give up, but I've like maybe like sit back and reflect on if I want this to actually work more than a hobby, and not getting away too much of other areas of my life, like my work or social part of my life, and that it needs to be kind of like brought out differently and like given a new purpose. And if you matter that much, if you care that much about your art, which artists do, you know, I try thinking, what would I do if I didn't do it anymore? And at some point, I thought, okay, focus more on my job, like become a team leader at work or some other role that they've got on there. And I just thought, this ain't quite as satisfying as being an artist. I still need to be an artist. So it's just some of us out there, or most of us that are artists, are just born to be artists. Whether we make money or not, you know, that's the most important thing as well. I think money can kind of get in the way of it a little bit. I mean, it's a good thing to look forward to, but I felt like if I'm only getting it for money, you're just stressing yourself out because you want to earn loads of money straight away, and that could be quite a common thing to fall into, I think. So I stepped back from it. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do it whether I get paid or not. And that's what a true artist is, really. It's not just like, I think I've got a lot out from the end of it this year, and it's all good stuff, but it's like, how do I channel it so it really works in the right direction? That is what's going on, like the business idea, which I could go deeper into, where I want to like do commissions, originals, and develop painting to the point where I do like a style. There's a lot of styles. You've got like abstract, graffiti. I found an artist on YouTube that actually does graffiti. It'll be mixed with acrylic painting and all that. And they can like, they've got like a theme where they do aliens mixed with like graffiti. You know, like you've got like very like zigzaggy sort of like writing.
Yeah.
What's that? What's it called? I think there's a style name, but anyway, you see it on the walls everywhere when you go walking around.
I think I know the artist you're talking about. I don't like name dropping, but it's just we're doing it's positive, huh?
I think his name's called Simp, S-I-M-P.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. There's another artist that I follow who used to do graffiti, but now it's legal stuff. He's got a gallery, he does paintings, and it's brilliant stuff. But yeah, I just want to come back to a great point you said, which a lot of people fall into, and it happened to me as an entrepreneur, where you start off having a passion, right? And you're not getting paid for it. It's not a business, but it's something that you absolutely love, and you do it, and people congratulate you on it, and they like it. And then maybe you think about turning it into a business, or you just start going that direction, and then you might find it challenging because you think, well, how can I get people to pay me for this, and is it the right thing, is it the wrong thing, blah blah blah. And then someone does eventually buy from you, and it feels great, it's rewarding because you've earned some money from something.
I've had evidence of that as well, but sometimes when I'm at work and people discover as an artist, they're all looking at me in awe, like, not to sound a bit big-headed there, and they're all like, they like to call it sounds negative what I'm about to say, but they like to call it wasted talent when I'm at work. Like, I'm at my job, so why am I at my job when I should be an artist? I've had that quite a lot in the last 5 years at Ford, my job, which, I can get where they're coming from, but it's like you said, you've got to pay your bills, so that's my job. And it's like, if it weren't for that job, I wouldn't really be in this house or even be able to achieve art in the first place. So, when I've got people telling me that, it's a good inspiration to me to know that, all right, well, people are that keen on my art, there has got to be something in this that I need to channel. I just need to know how to market, how to embrace and one important thing I think we can relate to is comfort zone, not get stuck in one, because I think that can happen even as an artist as well. You get comfortable drawing something and then you draw it all the time, not same subject, but same like level of skill. And I felt that for about 3 or 4 years, I think I fell into that trap of just keep making stuff like that, not really like going out of the way to learn a little bit, face like your fear of exposure. Maybe I've got a lot more to learn. I think they even hit me this year a bit. I'm like, okay, well, if I want to get there, I need to accept and let go of my ego a little bit when it comes to my skill, which has been fueled by people liking my art and coming up to me for commissions. I've had about, I'll probably say about 5 to 10 in the last 3 years, which doesn't sound like much, but that's still quite a decent number compared to nothing. But you know, it's good. It shows that there is a skill and there's a place for it if you know how to channel it and do the right sort of training, you know, and like learn marketing. So I think marketing is even, it's like for artists, a lot of people are artists not very good at marketing their stuff. Like they're not really, they're just traditionally deep thinkers. They like to put their hand down to their pencil and the paintbrush, and hopefully one day someone will say, I'll pay you £10,000 for it. So I think deep down, that's what we all want really as an artist. You just want to get paid a lot of money for a original, as well as obviously love what you're doing. And it kind of goes down that way, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, all interesting points. And I think neither of the things you said and the places are right or wrong. They're just different places. And there is a sweet spot. This is just my take, where you actually do turn it into a business, but you're not bounded by money. You're not burdened by the fact that, oh, I'm just doing this to make money and it has to make money. Then you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And then if it doesn't make money, or you know, you can start not enjoying it, where you can think, I'm going to turn it into a business and I want to make money, but I don't care if I don't make money because I love doing it. As you said, an artist is irrelevant whether you make money or not. Then usually the money comes even easier. People buy it because I really think people buy people, and people are attracted to happiness when you're doing something and you're enjoying it and you don't care. People do sense that, even subconsciously. But I also agree on a very sort of entrepreneurial business mindset, which might disagree with what I just said, which would say, no, you've got to learn business, you've got to learn selling, you've got to learn marketing, you've got to be a little bit more shrewd. And my whole philosophy is I don't like the idea of manipulating people and stuff like that, as you probably know on my channel. So
I don't have to say, actually, funny enough, someone approached me the other day on Instagram saying they want me to promote my art, but they would not. I actually said I couldn't really afford to at that time because I was kind of coming up to a pay week. And he was like constantly messaging me saying, listen, you've got PayPal. I can see you've got PayPal, and like basically like manipulating me, trying to, I think that's the right term, into paying for his product. But that is like, I can instantly see that it was just the wrong way to go about it. I'm like, if you want me to buy your product, you know, trying to force it down my throat is definitely not going to work. You know what I mean? And that's why I was getting on this Instagram, and I had to block him, unfortunately, because I was like, okay, you might be able to express my art to 150,000 people, which was what he was kind of giving me. I've had that already with other artists on there. I pay a price for getting some work out there because Instagram can be a little restrictive. Like my last one was a World War II veteran. If you've seen on Instagram, World War II veteran drawing, and he was they wouldn't let me share it because he had a cigar in his mouth. And apparently it looks like a form of advertising for smoking. So you can kind of overcome that stuff. But anyway, that guy was just being like forceful, you know. I don't think marketing should be that way. I think it should be more offer, you know, give people something they want, but respecting their boundaries, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally, I get a lot of it when you're online. You've got a platform. I just cut them out. I just say no straight away, and it's all part of growing and learning. And I think the best way to do business is to do it with honesty and integrity, and you know, not to force it on people. If they want it, if they're interested, then you can sell. But it's just getting a distinction, because some people think selling's bad. Selling's not bad. Every single person selling and buying every day. It's the values and the ethics that you're using. And for the kind of person you are, Lee, you've got good values, you've got a good heart. So I think you do really well. You attract good people, because you wouldn't.
I even think like really often if it's like free as well, depending on like the people. Like for example, if there's like the NHS, because I use that example this year, they've gone through a lot with the COVID stuff. I know 2 or 3, this is inspiration from what I've seen other artists do. They've actually done like paintings of it and like put them on billboards outside like the streets and that. And it can be something as simple as that, showing that, you know, it's not always about money. It's about like your values, as you just mentioned, like NHS on the big billboard of you drawing like a massive picture or painting it. And this particular artist, he put little Lego people in it. That's like maybe to represent my, you know, I mean, to make it look family friendly, that sort of thing. And it just, it looked really good. I was like, look at it, I think, okay, well, imagine if I could get into something similar and like just like doing a variety. He does a lot of famous people as well. So famous people are good in terms of art as well. Like they're kind of like, you know, if you can use it well, make it medium, it can do a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation we're speaking about. And I know loads of artists go through this. And when I say artists like yourself who paint and draw, business people, you know, YouTube content makers, personal trainers, they go through stages of being a little bit confused and contradicted with the money and the business side or doing it for the passion. But I personally think I was given some advice years ago with one of my clients that I was coaching, and he was an older gentleman, more experienced than me. And he said to me that you're so passionate, you know, that's why I was attracted to working with you and paying you. And he said, never lose your passion. And I didn't really understand what he meant at that time because I was just passionate at the time. But as I got older and I lost passion for a while and got it back, I understood what he meant. Basically, the most important thing is that you're passionate and you love what you do, because there's a lot of people, Lee, who make a fortune, they make loads of money, and they're so miserable and they're not happy with themselves. They hate what they do.
That trap, really, because you find the trap like wanting to be rich. You know, the classics. You want to be rich, to be like a ladies' man, that sort of thing. You know, you got to like look back on it, and you got to look at it and think. You know, I discovered something earlier in the year actually. When I was going through my, you know, this year as we were, I discovered something where on Instagram, if you're looking at like the people with 1 million followers or 100,000, you're looking at the 1% of the about 100%. That makes sense. You know, there's about you got 10, 100 million followers, 10 people have got that. You've got about another, you know, 3 times the man trying to get that. You know, and then you've got the other lot that you use like. Start again. You've got 10% the best, 10% the worst, and you've got the 80% of the averages. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think most of us are in the middle, you know, and that is where I feel we only see the best or the worst outcomes in terms of anything like money. What's the matter of like earning a few £1,000 a year for it, or you know, doing a few joins a year and being happy at that? You know, I think we're too extreme of what we want. I think we need to like downplay it a bit, and that's what I've learned this year. Like I think I said it to you before, just look at things as a bit more of what they are and stop trying to be perfect, if that's the right word to put it. You know, because perfection, I'm a bit of a perfectionist at heart, and I don't think it's actually very healthy, but it does help me push myself to the limit almost, to the point when I know, okay, it's time to put a pencil down, or it's time to stop running for the day, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I can't say a lot about it, but that's my expression of that.
No, it's all good. There's no right or wrong. It's all about getting your perspective, and it's very intelligent. Look, on this channel, we encourage people to reach their full potential, whether it's their destiny to make millions. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, people, I think it's down to the person you are, or whether someone just wants to make a minimum wage or a medium wage. It's not really my goal. Next question. Sure. This is great. I tell you what, Lee, I thought it would go well. I'll have to do a follow-up in person like I did with Kevin, because this one's gone even smoother than I thought. Elaborating on your point, right? I had a lot of time in lockdown to think about this for you, for other artists, for people on YouTube, myself. You know, it's easy to look at someone and go, well, they got 100,000 subscribers. Look at me, I've only got 100. But you don't know their journey. You don't know what they had to go through. You don't know what kind of person they are. You don't know if they're happy or not. And it doesn't mean you can't get that. I've seen people that didn't have many subscribers, far less than me and other people, and then they just completely overtook me and others. They stuck at it. They found their niche. So I see what you're saying. And sometimes, there's channels that have got loads of views because they're brilliant for a reason, right? Because they put out great content and they're just brilliant, right? And
that's why you can use it as inspiration. Instead of looking at it as like negative, like, oh, they're better than me, you know, that classic thing. You go, okay, so what's he doing? He's clearly got better photographs, like, for example. He's taking better pictures of the process of making art or any other thing. How can you learn from that? You know, how can you like take better pictures? And like you can learn and like obviously not copy, but be inspired and embrace. And that's how people get better, because it's all about down to professionalism. The more professional it looks, the more people kind of notice it, you know. That's what I think it takes a long time. So for me, I've come to the conclusion that if I ain't gonna make it like big in my own little way now, which could be, I think, even like having 10,000 followers is probably enough, because out of those 10,000 followers could be 100 people that buy your art regularly, compared to 100,000. It's not always about quantity, as you said. 10,000 could be a good aim, and like that'll work. I've seen a few artists that I spoke to over the last few years on there with 10,000, and they're always selling. And then you've got 100,000, and I noticed even the ones at 100,000, they're making drawings of themselves or famous people, like the Avengers, the characters anyway, and they haven't sold them yet, because people are more interested in actually seeing the process of art when it comes to. It just depends on, like, success is different. 100,000 doesn't mean they earn more. It could just simply mean that they're more popular because of what they create. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, more views doesn't always mean more revenue. Sometimes it does a lot. It doesn't always. Look, my thing is this, and this is true. If I'm going to say it is. There's so many undiscovered artists out there. There's great YouTubers right now. They just haven't done their YouTube channel. There's great teachers. There's great singers that are better than the ones that we know today that are famous and in the public eye. But no one knows them yet. So my passion on this platform was to give other people an opportunity to give them a platform from my platform to build their own platform.
Yeah.
By giving them a chance to say who they are and share their story, because I think it's only fair that everyone gets at least one opportunity in life, no matter who they are, where they're from, what the background is and stuff like that. Because I know growing up for me as well, being a struggling artist, it was really hard initially to get to someone to give me a chance, and I knew I had something great like what you've got. So everyone's time will come, and as you said, you're on your own journey, but it's human sometimes. Of course, having an ego, it's easy to have a bad day and then compare yourself and say, why are they doing better than me? I put in the time, they're making that, they're doing that. And do you know what? I'm not even going to say that's bad, because I used to say that was bad. It's obviously not good to stay there, but these are all human challenges. The reality is we don't all live perfect lives. Even people who've got big following, we look at what's happening at the moment. Everyone's struggling. There's the coronavirus and the lockdown doesn't care if you've got millions or you've got a little bit or a big channel. Everyone's
in a way, like you said, it's actually where it's put a pause on everything. I think it's maybe sit back and reflect. Sometimes I feel like I've gone 2 steps forward, 1 step back this coronavirus, which we all relate to. Yeah. I mean, I was walking around earlier and I was just thinking, I was doing well for the last 2 years of all the stuff I was up to, and then smash, this happens. But really, has it really put me back? It's probably made me reflect on the fast pace this was going on. I think, okay, maybe trying to get 100,000 followers on Instagram for an artist isn't the way. Maybe just offer value and then let fate decide at the same time. And also, like, obviously work hard towards what you want. And if it isn't that successful, so be it. Just do it on the side and, like, sell when you sell. But obviously, if I can get more than that, I will try. But I think I'm not going to put it on a pedestal. Like, we can all kind of relate that. You put women on a pedestal, for example. Just take it off a pedestal and realise that everything happens. If it happens, it don't. Be happy anyway. Be happy in the process. And I learned last year as well, enjoy the process. So that's the plan. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, totally. And I think as an artist, you might wake up tomorrow and say, I want to get 100,000 followers on Instagram. Great. Then the next week you might go, oh, sod that. I don't care about that. I just want to do this. And you're going to help someone, or you're going to sell a piece of art. Or I'm sure you have times, Lee, where you just can't connect with the art you're doing. It's great, but you're not enjoying it emotionally. And another day it just clicks. You're just loving every bit of it.
And I threw one away actually not too long ago because I felt like I want to start making other stuff. And this one was just like, you get in there, and then when you have a project, it's a great project, and no matter what you're looking at, you just think this isn't going to plan. You just throw it in the bin. Sometimes that happens. I mean, out of the drawings you've seen on Instagram, I say about 4 or 5 have been made that never made it beyond the first stage. I just thought, I'll come back to it in a few years. I'm that type of person as well. I like to come back to something after a few years if it's sitting around. I think I can make that bit good. About 4 years ago, I actually done a drawing based upon Mad Max, where London was in apocalypse. And what I did with that is Canary Wharf, the 3 towers we've got now, or the more now, but there's the 3 main towers. We've got the one with the pyramid on top. And I put them into an ice age where it was completely covered in snow. And I've done that in 2015. And I just looked at it one day and just put it away. Didn't do it for 3 years. Come back to it 2 years ago and I finished it. And for the skill set at the time, it's just sometimes it feels good to go back to the same, because you're I wonder how much better I can make it now after 3 years. You know, that's art as well. That's like change can be a very exciting thing in terms of the artwork as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful what you said. That's brilliant. I love that. What you just said there.
I want to do more of that as well, more creative, sort of like random stuff, because you can use references in the real world. All artists have done it for years. They used to use like grid method boxes to do accurate faces in the 1500s and 1600s. And you know, like today, you could, I don't trace, but a lot of people trace. You can use trace. I use grid method sometimes. But in the old days, you had to put a box over someone's head just to get their outlines right. So it's actually quite funny how they've done things.
Well, you're not putting a box over my head because we're on Zoom, so you.
We've already got masks. We don't need boxes too.
Okay, do you want me to get a box? I see there's one in the apartment.
I draw Batman a couple of years ago, actually, since you're a fan of Batman.
Oh, I love Batman. I'm going to talk about that all day. When I get you on the next interview, have you got any artwork now that you could just show people? They'll check out your Instagram. Anything handy next year?
Yeah, I was like just before you're done. I had like this easel, so that's one.
Well, that's the paint. That's not an actual piece of art.
Yeah, that's the painting.
That's
sunset.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram yesterday, and I loved it. Love the colours. That looks like I don't know. That reminds me of the 80s Miami. I don't know why.
It's because the pinks at the moment. I have to be honest with this one. I've got it. It's one of those where I'm learning how to paint now. I accidentally messed it up when my father came around last week. I kind of got a bit excited. It happens like you just get like, oh, look at this. You want to impress people. And yeah, I accidentally put the wrong colour on there. So I had to restart the whole thing. It's the same one, but I learned a lot from making mistakes. So that's a good point as well. Mistakes are very essential to happen. Obviously, I don't live off them, right? But if it weren't for mistakes, I wouldn't have discovered that I need to work on that, and then when the next painting comes, you know, you can improve it. Like, for example, that one I just showed you, I had to blend pink, orange, and blue together. And in order to get that to go smooth, you know, I've got to learn that as I go along. I can do it with graphite and colour pencils because that's a different medium. But for painting, it's very like, it's one of the hardest things out there to learn, actually. But I've always been pretty good at that. That's like I showed you. And I think I've got the other paintings, man, your drawings. I can't really see anything.
Any of the you know, the portraits that you've done, because all of it, they're brilliant. They look so alive, like the actors.
I've got
the people.
I promise I'll put them all away.
This is good marketing, isn't it? This will get people looking at your Instagram. They'll get curious.
They're even on the wall. I'll put them away. So
you see one behind you, behind your head there. There's like a sign.
I can move the camera from here, actually. So basically, if you can see it, that's like I made that about 2 years ago.
That's quality. That is.
I'll show you one more quickly, and then we sit back down. And basically, you've got this one here, which is Robert Downey Jr. Originally, that was.
Wow! Look at that.
Yeah, it looked better in real life as well. Sometimes photographs don't always do them justice on the good old Instagram. But that one was originally meant to be him just walking around a showpiece environment, and then the suit was just added on. And I looked at a few references to the suit, and I thought, okay, how can I make that stand out in this other way? And just put two different mediums together there, two different places, and then it come out like Robert Downey Jr. in this classic look, you know, that he's got these days, and it just kind of worked. I've done really well on this actually. It got about 1,000 likes. So obviously it's not all about likes, but likes are a good indication that there's something good going on, you know what I mean?
No, I'll tell you what, I've got a good feeling that you're already doing well as far as I'm concerned, but this is going to take off even bigger, you know, just from the talent and the work that you're putting in.
It's going to take a few more years, like from what I'm thinking of what to do next. But I think the most important thing is what I've learned from a few other areas of my life is, if I'm an artist, you know, would take it out to the world like I'm doing with you and the YouTube, and actually, you know, go around life as well, like live like an artist. If you are, you know, it's nice to have dreams and that we have. Like, you know, let's say in school, like, what's your dream to be up when you're older? And I've turned away from dreams and focused more on goal making, you know. Because dreams can sometimes be like tomorrow, like in Rocky 3. Like, there's no tomorrow, is there? Really, it's what we're doing right now.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Classic. There is no tomorrow. Creed.
That's a great point. I think, yeah, like you said, it's important to take action. What you're doing now, a lot of artists, no, not to generalize, they tend to be quite shy and introverted and sensitive. They don't really want to feel like they're forcing it, but you've got to market yourself. You've got to take action and be social and do what you're doing, do interviews, and if you want to grow bigger, because if no one knows,
in a way, oh sorry, I've gone back into my circle. Go on, you first.
No, we just broke up. No, I was just going to say, if no one knows who you are, then you're kind of waiting to be discovered rather than showing it.
Yeah, and the reality is, you've got, it's like the other areas of your life. You've got to accept rejection as well. Rejection's, that's just like a fear of your identity being wrecked. Because like maybe like I say, I think I'm this great artist, for example. If someone comes up to you one day and says you're rubbish, you've got to look at it and go, that's one person's opinion. But growing up, I felt like I took that like a punch in the face, and it's still to this day. It never actually happened. That's another example. Like that stuff can hold on to you and get in your way, and that's what I think kind of causes. I won't say introversion to a certain extent, but I do think introversion is fueled by past negative experiences as well. Not completely, because obviously some people are just naturally quiet anyway, and I'm naturally quiet in my own environment. But I feel that I think that's what makes introvert artists a bit more introverted as well, because it's just one of the things we do well with. I think most of the artists I've met are a combination of introvert and extrovert, because that's what I feel I am. I've got my place where I can talk for 6 hours straight if I really wanted. And then there's other times when I don't want to talk for a week. So it's subjective, the introvert, extrovert sort of terms we've had. Because I actually read a book on introverts from about 3 years ago. And that person that done it, she actually optimized on that, a bit like the confidence coaching and that stuff you get on the internet. She decided to help out people on introverts and introvert. How do they like adapt to a world where everyone, she put it, keeps talking. So I mean, you get it in the workplace as well. Like when you're in the work, people want you to be this lad, or not always lad, but like constant talker, like taking lead. And some people like me, for example, are just a bit more like content with what we're doing. We don't really want to have so much change at once because our brains just can't handle the stimulation. You know what I'm saying? We just want to do one step at a time and like take it in. But I feel like introvert, extrovert are slightly a bit too in the box, you know what I mean? So people can change, people can adapt, and that is what I think is important. Change is important, and that's what I think it is.
That was great. We'll come to the end, Lee. We'll round it up there. We'll leave people wanting more. I'm only joking, but we'll do another interview. That was really good, really great perspective. You gave loads of different perspectives. So I'm going to leave a big link underneath my YouTube channel. But if you can say, if people want to find you and they want to get a commission or they want to look at your art and get some inspiration, where do I send them?
Okay, I've got 2 places. I think the one I use the most at the moment, however, is Lee J. Barclay Artist Instagram.
Right.
That's where I post most of my updates, my photographs and that. But as I evolve, which is going to be within the next 6 to 12 months, I'm going to eventually open up a website. I just got to look for the right place. And Facebook I've already got. I've got Facebook too. So if you go onto Facebook, Lee J. Barclay Artist 2, it should come up as like a picture of Robert Downey Jr. you just saw on it. And that'd be my Facebook link, but it's the same thing as Instagram. My Instagram is the place, Lee J. Barclay Artist. Just type that into it, it should come up.
Great. I'll put the links definitely underneath the video, Lee. I really appreciate you coming. I really enjoyed the chat. I'm looking forward to doing one in person, and we can go longer, more in depth, and get a bit more of your life story. And because we could have covered so many more things, but this is good enough. And now, as you said, not being infectious, people will get something very positive from this. Last thing before we shoot. You could give one quick bit of advice to any artist, what advice would you give them that could help them?
I think there's a lot to say actually. Focus on skill, to a certain extent. If you want something out of your art and you want to focus on like evolving your skill set, so you're never really staying in the same place too long. Expand on your skill set, make drawings regularly, work it on daily or weekends, whatever feels good for your sort of lifestyle, and just simply enjoy the process. That's one of the most simple ones I'd say. And at the same time, don't care what people think. Do it because it matters to you, and adapt to whatever reason feels good.
That's brilliant, man. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon. Make sure you share this page, people. Check out Lee's work. It will inspire you. And I look forward to seeing you next episode. Become fearless.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.